If you've ever searched Alibaba for a full-sized two-stroke dirt bike, you've probably come across these three machines. Number one, the Hengian S7Z300 and the Hengian S6Z300. And number three, the Miura CR300X. Now, one of these bikes is just a little bit more powerful than the other one, but both of them are the most powerful premium dirt bikes, motocross bikes, enduro bikes, whatever you like to call them, available on Alibaba right now. At first glance, these bikes look almost identical. Same 300cc counterbalanced two-stroke engine, electric start, 6-speed gearbox, and both of them have around 50 horsepower. And surprisingly similar prices, but the Miura is probably around the 500 American dollars more, I think. But here's the thing, these are not the same motorcycle. They have different suspension, they have different brake components, and they have different clutch systems. The Hengian uses a hydraulic clutch, whereas the Miura uses a cable clutch. They are from different suppliers, and they have different styling, and of course different riding characteristics because of those things. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one I'd buy. I'll show you where to buy them, how to contact the suppliers, how to get a shipping quote, where they ship worldwide, what spare parts are available, and I'll leave direct supplier links in the description below. And now, before anybody asks, I actually own one of these bikes, not the 300, I own the 250 version, the S6 version of the Hengian, and I've been riding that bike for, I think I've had that for nearly a year now. So this isn't just me reading Alibaba listings and reposting them on YouTube. I've pulled it apart, I've modified it, I've fitted some performance parts, I'm in the process of fitting a lot more, and I've learned what these bikes do well and where they can still be improved. But let's get back to these two bikes. The first thing everyone notices is the styling. The Hengian S7 is basically a modern KTM EXC clone. It's got the orange frame, it's got the KTM inspired plastics, KTM style ergonomics, and even the engine cases resemble the Austrian bike. And I have been told that all the plastics on this bike are completely interchangeable with a KTM. Now, the Miura goes in a completely different direction. It's clearly inspired by the latest Husqvarna Enduro range with the white, blue and yellow bodywork and more angular styling, as is the S6 Hengian too, by the way. So although the engines look very similar, they are aimed at two different buyers. But I must add, these engines are from exactly the same supplier. Now, this is something that most people don't realise. Hengian actually builds two versions of this motorcycle, the S7, which copies the KTM layout and uses a modern PDS-style no-linkage rear suspension, and the S6, which copies the Husqvarna styling and instead uses a conventional rear linkage, which is very similar to the one I've got on my 250. So if you prefer Husqvarna styling but you want the Hengian package, you can actually have both. Suspension is another major difference between the Hengian and the Miura. Hengian manufactures its own suspension under the SZC brand. They are heavily inspired by KTM's WP suspension, and after riding mine, I'm genuinely impressed with how well they work for the money. The Miura uses HTW suspension instead, and it also uses a modern no-linkage rear shock similar to KTM's PDS design. So although both bikes look similar on paper, they're running completely different suspension packages. Next up we have power, and the power between these two is very close. Miura claims around 38.5 kilowatts, which is 51.6 horsepower, and the Hengian claims 37 kilowatts, or roughly 50 horsepower. And in the real world, I doubt many riders could actually feel that 1.5 horsepower difference, The bigger difference is likely to come from gearing and engine tuning rather than outright peak power. Now there's another difference that most buyers never think about, and I actually had to take this into account when I purchased my last bike from China, and that's the location of the actual factory, or the supplier in this case. The Hengjin supplier is Changzhou Victory Technology, and it is much closer to China's east coast, and that can potentially simplify logistics because you're already close to some of China's biggest export ports, which means you don't have to pay for internal shipping, which is really not that expensive, but it's just one less cost. The Miura supplier is located much further inland in Chongqing, China's motorcycle manufacturing heartland, and that's where I bought my last bike from, and I believe the internal shipping cost me around $100 to $150 US. Definitely wasn't more than that. Both companies export worldwide, but it's something worth considering when comparing shipping quotes. So, which one would I buy? If I was spending my own money, the Miura definitely looks fantastic. It's beautifully finished, premium looking, great component selection, but I'd probably still choose the Hengjin again. Why? Because I've already proven it's a genuinely capable motorcycle. I know what parts fit it. I know how reliable it's been. I know exactly what upgrades work, and it represents excellent value for money. The Miura to me is just a little bit more of an unknown package. It does seem to market itself as more of a premium version of these types of bikes than the Hengjin, but yeah, I'm not convinced if it's worth the extra money or not. That's something you can decide for yourself, of course. Now, spare parts. I get asked this question more than just about any other one, and most of the time it's from people saying, oh yeah, they're cheap, but you can't get spare parts for them. Well, yeah, you can. So what happens if something breaks? Both manufacturers can supply parts, no problem. They are easily available on the internet. You've got AliExpress for one. There are specific manufacturers that make parts solely for these types of motorcycles, and they're plentiful and they're cheap. I'm not going to list them here, but if I had to make a separate video, I probably could, because there's just so many, there's just too many to list in this one video. Sorry guys, but just rest assured that yes, they are available. The only downside, if there is one, is that you've got to wait a couple of days for a part to come in. But hey, if you've got the Hengjin, for example, you can pretty much walk into a KTM shop and pay their premium prices for plastics and probably a lot of engine parts too, I'm assuming. So yeah, if you want to do that, that's fine. But for everything else, yeah, you just have to order it online and wait a few days. Another thing too is when you actually request a quotation for one of these bikes, you can just simply ask them to include any spare parts you want in the shipment. Things like plastics, levers, engine parts, gaskets, radiators, pistons, pleat wheel assemblies, whatever. And most suppliers are happy to add extra parts before they crate the bike. Now, how do you buy one? If you've been wondering actually how to buy one of these, it's much easier than most people think. I put direct links to every bike featured in this video in the description. So all you have to do is click the supplier link, request a quotation. You'll go into the main page there and you'll see a chat box. You will talk to the sales agent there. Usually takes them around 24 hours to give you a quote depending on your location. I'll ask you for your country and your city, but sometimes it's quicker than that, but that's the process. And it's really that simple. It really is, guys. So, which one would you buy? The KTM-inspired Hengjin S7, the Husqvarna-inspired Hengjin S6, or the premium Husqvarna-styled Miura CR300X? Let me know in the comments. I'd genuinely like to hear which one you choose and why. Alright guys, that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up. If you haven't, subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. I'm Mike from Moto2Ro.